You're listening to For Film's Sake with Irving, Twitterless Joel, and Jose. Oh, right, and me, Chris. Enjoy the show. Well, it seems as though that we have been finally awoken from cryosleep. This is For Film's Sake, the pilot 2.0. In the end of 2021, we kind of went Captain America on everybody and were frozen in the ice until we were, let off the ice. So as a reward, we let Jose join our show. Thank you for waking us up, Jose. I'm Chris, and yes, we have the old crew here, and we have somebody new as well. Irving is here,
Hi, everybody.
and Joel is here, still with no Twitter.
Hello, everybody.
And we have somebody new, as I mentioned before. We have our very good buddy, Jose.
What's up? Hello.
So we are here ready to go for film's sake. So our natural thing to do when you do a first show of a new year is talk about the year that was, and that's where we are going to start. We're going to talk about some of our 2023 favorites, the ones we share, the ones we don't share, and later we're going to talk about a little of the 2024 movies that are coming out. But first things first, let's talk about our top 10s and see which ones stood out. So I want to leave the floor to my guy, Irving, to start us off. Irving, what can you tell us is your top 10 and tell me about your number one?
All right. So my top 10 consists of no in a specific order. American Fiction, John Wick 4, absolutely Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Across the Spider-Verse, Past Lives, The Incredible Anatomy of a Fall. And I guess that this is leading me to my favorite film of the year. That I am. It's been a little bit difficult for me because I've been wrestling with that number one spot. But I revisited this film not that long ago, and I am going to say that All of Us Strangers right now holds the number one spot of 2023 for me.
Andrew Scott has your heart.
Absolutely. And Paul Mescal and Jamie Bell and Claire Foy, who I wish that everybody would have given her a little bit more love for her supporting role. But I will only add that this film has an emotional connection. I have an emotional connection with this film, and it has an emotional impact in me. And I think that for those who have seen this film, I think that it's a shared feeling and experience. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say a lot because I don't know who has not seen it here. And I also don't want to spoil anything, but I would have to say that Andrew Haigh in this film takes us very slow into a ride and introduces very different ways to tell the story. And at the core of it, it's absolutely my favorite male performance of the year. And that is Andrew Scott. So that's it. I guess that's my top 10.
Andrew Scott, he just doesn't miss. Everything he does is so good. I can tell you, I mean, the first time I saw him was in Sherlock when he played Moriarty. And everything he does, he just does it so well. And I'm sure, I haven't seen it because, late release dates. But Andrew Scott, I'm sure, is going to have everybody's hearts.
Absolutely. I would have to say that when whenever you all of you see this film and anybody who is listening right now, bring your tissues. I am not kidding. Bring your tissues. This
Have the
is
tissue boxes at
great.
hand.
Yes, keep a lot of them because if you have the same experience that I had, I was not expecting it to happen, you know, often or as the movie was going. So I was like a little bit surprised by it, but this is a welcoming surprise. I love it. So super
Well, I'm
excited.
glad. I'm certainly glad. I can't wait to see it, and I know the other guys here can't wait to see it, and we're gonna definitely come back to you when we do. But now I'm gonna throw it over to Twitterless Joel, or should I say Xless? No, we don't say X here. So talk to us. What is your top 10 and what is your favorite movie of 2023?
I see what you did there, Chris. Um, well, my top 10, and I'm going in descending order. Number 10 is Godzilla Minus One. Great film. Barbie, Anatomy of a Fall. Seven, Killers of the Flower Moon. Number 6, The Boy and the Heron. Number 5, Oppenheimer. 4, Past Lives. Number 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 2, The Holdovers. And this might be controversial, but my number one and only perfect film of the year so far is Poor Things.
Not controversial for me. It's my number two.
Yeah, yeah.
Neither for
I
me.
know. I know there has been some controversy, but you know, this was the first film that I saw last year that I felt like it was perfect. For me, a perfect film is one that tells you a story well, while also using the cinematic language to its advantage. I think the story told here is about development, about growing up. It's like a coming of age story if you think about it. But it's also how we humans interact with the new things that we learn. And you can see this in the character of Bella Baxter. Um, I know there has been some issues because our protagonist is female, it's a woman. Um, it has been confused. It has been confused with saying that this movie is a feminist one or from a feminist standpoint, which I don't agree with because if you see it that way, then this movie becomes a little bit problematic, especially with certain scenes that include furious jumping. But other than that, if you see this as a coming of age story, independent of the sex of the protagonist, although it's important that is a woman who's the protagonist here, because I think there are some qualities that are usually paired with women that Bella Baxter's character brings to the table that we need to learn more from her, like empathy with
Mhm.
people, question everything but with caution, and be very convincing of our stances. I adore that from her character, and I identify with her a lot because when you are growing up and learning so many things in life, um, the Bella Baxter character it's the character that I identify with most. Like when so far, I learning so much in life. Still, I'm old but young, so seeing her character grow the way she did was something beautiful to watch because that's how we humans grow. So there's that. That's why I
I,
love this movie so much.
I like the fact that it's an experience where it'd be interesting to have that point of view of being born into the world, but with an adult body and a rapidly growing mind, unlike anything you see in any coming of age film, but something like you see in, for example, this is a really mild comparison, but something like Neil Blomkamp's Chappie, for example. But that's not a human, that's a robot.
Mm-hmm.
But quickly discovering the world and kind of getting into everything. I
Yeah,
like
and
that element of it. And of course, Poor Things is my number two. And it is also Jose's number two, because he and I share, I think, the top three. That's why I chose Irving and Joel to go first. So, Jose, I mean, grace us with your top 10 then.
Well, hello again. um, I have my this past year, 2023 was a really good year. There's a lot of movies that I really loved that deserves honorable mentions, but we'll get through straight through with the top 10.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a really good year, and but here are my tops. Number 10, Priscilla by
Hmm.
Sofia Coppola. Number 9, Passages from Ira Sachs.
Yes.
Number 8, Fallen Leaves. Number 7, Anatomy of a Fall, Justin Triet. Number 6, The Iron Claw, Sean Durkin. Number 5, Killers of the Flower Moon. Number 4, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 3, Past Lives. Number 2, Poor Things. And number 1 is the best film, in my opinion, is Oppenheimer. um, what can I say about this film, man? It's a it's a spectacle, man, about scientists talking during 3 hours, the 3 hours.
Right.
A film by Christopher Nolan, who is known for the Batman trilogy, Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar. Um, what can I say? Uh, a film about this this man, J. Robert Oppenheimer, Cillian Murphy starting with the role, about this man considered the father of the atomic bomb. We we saw lots of what can I say about his life, personal life,
Yeah,
and
a lot of what makes him tick, a lot of, you know, what makes him such
ex-
a bright mind, but also the questionable decisions. I
exactly,
and it's also my number one, but I'm
yeah.
sure that it's great to see what makes him a bright mind, but also, you know, the questionable decisions and how what an effect it had on him.
Exactly. The effect, the personal culpability inside him,
Sure.
how this creation that is one of the best scientific experiments of all time, but
Yeah.
also is one that can destroy the world.
Yeah.
And he has that culpability inside him,
Hmm.
and you explore it with Killian's performance. I mean, he was incredible.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't know what can I say. I mean, everything was really really good. It was a visual spectacle, like I said, the music and the IMAX sequences was very well used. Um, the editing, I can I need to say I need to talk about it. Like it's
Hmm.
really I like the transitions to the view. So to view the visions of the bomb
Yeah,
and we
it's very visually enthralling. And I
yeah,
can see, even though it doesn't rely on visuals, but it uses a little of the visual language to describe the atomic bomb and the effects that it would have on the world moving forward. That is also
exactly.
my number one. And Jose and I, We share 3, 2, 1, but the rest of I'm gonna now say my list if anybody doesn't mind. I'm gonna go real quick here because we're going against the clock. My 10 to 1 is Killers of the Flower Moon, Barbie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Air, The Holdovers, Anatomy of a Fall, Anatomie d'une Chute for the French title, The Iron Claw, Past Lives 3, Poor Things 2, Oppenheimer 1. The movie I want to talk about here is Past Lives. And this is a movie that is unanimously loved between all of us here. For me, I related to it because it's not a love story as many people might confuse it with. It's really a human experience story. It's a story about the different versions that we were in different times. And it's almost a story of childhood in a way with those two characters, those two lead characters who have always been in each other's lives in one way or another. But it's the physical encounter that reminds them both of what could have been, but wasn't. And it was so beautifully written. The John McGarrow character is one of the best characters of the year because they could have written him as the jealous current boyfriend, but they didn't. It's a very maturely written character. It's sublime to see interactions between these three characters be so mature, a little tense, but not too much. And I really loved that aspect of Past Lives, which is my number 3 movie and the movie that I decided I wanted to talk about here. So that wasn't so bad, wasn't it, fellas?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I will only add this, Chris. Past Life was the film that I was wrestling with between All of Us Strangers and Past Life. So everything that you said, it's you know, I agree 100%. Amazing, amazing. And yes, I also did love Poor Things, fellas.
We definitely share a lot of those movies in the top 10, which is why we're here, right? Bright minds
Yeah,
think alike.
yeah. I wanted to add, Irvin, since your main job is psychology, did you see the same things I saw when at the beginning of Poor Things? The development aspect of Bella Baxter's character. The first steps she takes to grow up as a human. Um, what can you tell us about that aspect of the film?
Uh, well, it's incredibly, I would say, like portrayed by the performance of Emma Stone, but it is absolutely very much like I would say like the first few chapters of one of the psychology developmental courses that I took. They absolutely Jorgos Lanthimos just presents you in a series of scenes how there are different stages in which the child is going through, especially when the brain is developing, when they are just only emotionally dysregulated, when they cannot get what they want and all of that, and you could see those things. So I would say that it is very much aligned with how we've been studying human development, and also how the brain develops. So in that context, it's great. And I think that the most difficult thing is that I have never seen anybody in film portraying someone who goes through those stages um, in such a short amount of time and just right in front of us. So I think it's incredible. Everything that you mentioned about this film, Joel, is amazing.
Yeah, I know I was nerding out because I'm a teacher, and as a teacher, we had to take some psychology classes, and I saw those steps of development right in front of me, and I was like, "Oh my God, I remember this." I was like, super happy because I was seeing it for the first time in a screen so well portrayed. Of course, at a faster tempo, but it's a movie, so suspension of disbelief, scratch that. Uh, so yeah.
So, Jose, how was this first segment with us? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. It's pretty good, and I need um to have mentioned to in past lives that film is very amazing, too realistic, and I I need to mention that the character that John Magaro is portraying is very good, very
Right.
mature.
Yeah, it's just
It's really
different. It's new. It's a fresh perspective.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that was pretty good. We are just getting started here on this uh, reboot. Is it a reboot? It's a reboot. It's a pilot 2.0. It's a revival. It's a resuscitation, whatever you want to call it, for film's sake. So we have a little bit more coming up. So we'll take a short break and we will be back in just a few. And we're back. So if we shared many movies in our top 10, we could easily go all night talking about those. But the different thing that we're going to do is the singular movie that we all had in our top 10s that the others didn't have. That's part of the movie taste, isn't it? So I'm going to throw it to Joel first. So, Joel, tell us what is your unique film in your top 10?
Well, I had a few actually, but I want to emphasize the possible last film uh, of master director Hayao Miyazaki, The Boy
Right.
and the Heron. It's my number 6 in my top 10. And I'll be the first to admit that even though I love Studio Ghibli and Hayao Miyazaki as a director, I'll be the first to admit that I was confused by the film. I watched it
Right.
with Chris and Jose Omar, and when the movie finished, I remember our faces, and we were silent the whole rolling credit scene. Like
You need
the picture
to.
was
We needed
our
to process it.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about the film afterwards, the better it became. Like, I
Right.
don't know what that movie had. I know it's a movie about Miyazaki dealing with the fact that he has to pass on the baton. That like he has to move on. I think that's the main attraction of the film. It's possibly his last film, so it's a kind of loss to him. It's not in that, but he's dealing with having to leave out the job that he has been doing for the past, I don't know, 40 plus years. So in a sense, the movie has a lot of highlights of his previous films, and I think it's because he wanted to like uh, be back to that world, to remember how he got there, and how those little precious moments and characters that we have seen in all his films uh, combine his mind, and help him cope with the pain of dealing with loss, and uh, you know being able to retire if he wants to retire
Right.
at this point.
That's a
So
that's a
yeah,
great
that
observation, and there's a lot of marinating to be involved to be done there. I didn't have it in my top 10, but I don't think that's not a that's not an indictment on The Boy and the Heron. It was just such a loaded 2023 in films that
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people might have missed The Boy and the Heron, but you didn't, and I really appreciate that observation of Hayao Miyazaki's uh, motivation for it.
Mhm.
So
I just
that
wanted to add, and
sure,
with this I end up, remember when we humans dream, dreams are like a mix of emotions for us. And I
Hmm.
think this film is like a dream for Hayao Miyazaki. Dreams is how he deals with his emotions. And I think this is what The Boy and the Hero is all about.
That's that's perfect. So I already know when Irving told us his top 10, I think I already know which one he's going to talk about because it's unique and it's also very much his taste. So take it away.
Thank you, Chris. Well, I mean, all of you probably have seen this movie. It came earlier in the year, but my number 10 on my list, it is a film called John Wick Chapter 4. And you might ask yourself, like, how a fourth chapter, or this, yeah, fourth chapter, right, of a movie can excel and surpass what we have seen in the other three films. Well, you got to ask how the Chatstowski does it, how
Hmm. Hmm.
Keanu Reeves does it, but also for me, the MVP, Dan Lost in cinematography, a
Hmm.
movie that it's impeccably shot, but more importantly, the running time of this movie is almost 3 hours. And I kid you not, those last 40 minutes, it's insane. And I still can't believe it every single time that I rewatch it, because I've seen it like now maybe like 8 times already.
Eight.
Yeah, eight times. The last time was like probably around the Christmas time with my family here. They all sat down, no one got up, everybody's sat down and watched the whole film. And I was also hyping it because I was telling them, wait until you see those last 50 minutes. And they were not disappointed. There is something very impressive here. And it is that in this third act, there are like three different set pieces of
Right.
three incredible action sequences. And boy, I'm asking myself, like, who doesn't love Keanu Reeves? And he is here kicking ass, but also getting a lot of hits. And in addition to that, we have an incredible villain from Bill Skarsgård that everybody knows from the It franchise.
Right.
And I had a lot of fun. I think that this movie uh, should never be taken for granted. I think that it's redefining the action genre, and I feel that it's a fun time. It's a fun time at the movies, or it's a fun time at home. I love it, and I'm a big fan of this franchise. I'm a big fan of Keanu Reeves, and I love it. Can't say
So would
anything
you
else, man.
say would you say that apart from maybe Mission Impossible, would you say that John Wick is the most consistent action franchise going around?
I mean, the list is not super big, right? So I think that that tiny group involves Mission Impossible, obviously John Wick, and I'm a little bit biased, but it includes probably the James Bond franchise
Right.
as well.
Right,
But I
right.
would
But
say
that's
that
in its
John
own
Wick,
league.
yeah,
That's in its
yeah.
own league. That's its own. James Bond is his own category.
But yeah, I would say that you're absolutely right. I think that John Wick Chapter 4 has been given. Well, not John Wick Chapter 4. The John Wick franchise has been
Right.
given us something that I think that a lot. Look at the movies called Nobody. Um,
Right,
there's a
right, right.
movie coming up with Jason Statham as well
It's
that they're just
influential.
trying
It's
to.
highly
Yes,
influential. Highly
they
influential.
changed the game. They changed the game. I think that they elevated the action genre, and I
Right.
think that's why people love it.
Well, that's great. So, we're gonna go from an action film to to a slice of life, relatable sort of grassroots film. Jose, what is your unique top 10 film?
My unique top 10 film of 2023 is my number 8, that it's Fallen Leaves. It's from Finland, European film. I really love European cinema. And what can I say about this movie? This movie is it's like a rom-com in where thriller with a bittersweet tone, maybe.
Okay.
It's very warm, also about emotional love, about these two souls from the working class,
Right.
like absorbed by the solitude and misfortune. Is this movie has this is very humorous. It's very comic. Has
Sure.
um scenes like that are really fun.
And it has a cute dog.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it also has a cute dog. Uh, um, I don't know what can I say about it. It's really it's a really fun
it
rom-com.
feels like relatable people. It's what I've read. I haven't seen it. I've been wanting to see it for some time now, but it's well, from what I've read, and I'm sure you can say they're relatable people.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah, of course.
that's the. I'm not a big fan of romantic comedies, but if it's people that one can relate with, uh, all the better. As for me though, uh, the movie that I'm picking, I'm sure y'all figured it out by now, but it's Air, directed by Ben Affleck. There are a couple of reasons why it's a top 10 movie for me. Number one, it's a sports movie where you don't see any sports. And that is something that I am very big on, especially if you consider that baseball has that type of movie, which was Moneyball. I think it broke the mold on that type of movie. Draft Day, with Kevin Costner, and it's the NFL equivalent. And basketball, I thought High Flying Bird from Steven Soderbergh was going to do that. I didn't particularly take to it. I got to give it a rewatch, but Air felt more like Moneyball and Draft Day. And I just loved it. It's conversation heavy. It does feel a little typical with some of the music choices and some of, but the acting was just wonderful. And I think the MVP of that movie is Chris Messina. That guy is one of those actors that always improves whatever production he's in. Playing David Falk, Michael Jordan's agent, just fascinating his acting there. And of course, uh, all the moves that had to happen for them to acquire Michael Jordan for Nike, which almost 40 years later, you'd think it's unfathomable that they couldn't get him, but they nearly didn't. And I think the second reason that I liked that movie so much is because of the story behind the guy who wrote it. It's a first time screenwriter, Alex Convery, his name. He was watching uh, the Bulls documentary, The Last Dance, and he saw the sequence when they were talking about him not wanting to be in Nike, him being Michael Jordan, and he decided to dig that up and write a screenplay. Bing, bam, boom. Ben Affleck is directing. That's such a fascinating story. You're watching The Last Dance, you get motivated to write. Hi, you're a screenwriter. That's one of those stories that makes you kind of dream, right? Maybe I can do it. But yes, Air is my number 7 film of the year, and that's my unique movie from 2023. So that is it.
You could
Hey, don't
say it's
forget,
like
Chris,
it's like an underdog story, right?
Yeah, in a way.
and don't forget, Matt Damon has a great monologue in this film. I
Yeah.
think it's probably one of the best parts of the movie. I think that it kind of elevated the film a little bit. I think it's a fun film, and you know what? I don't know if it hurt the film that it came in April. I think it was back in April,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because the movie, it's you can forget about it, how
Sure.
good it is, and it is a movie that I could show to anybody, and they probably will like it. Awesome.
Yeah. And for you to say that Matt Damon had a great monologue, definitely has to be true because we all know your feelings on Matt Damon
Not
in this
every
panel.
single Matt Damon performance is like in Interstellar.
We get you. We get you. Just busting your chops there a bit. So yeah, that was our unique top 10 movies. See, we all have the same taste, but we also have different tastes, and that's the beauty of cinema right there. So we are going to take another break, but when we return, we're gonna look forward now. We're looking back, now we're gonna look forward. So we're going to talk about our 2024 anticipated films right after this short break. You're listening to For Film's Sake. Well, we've returned for our final segment of this Pilot 2.0. That's what I'm going to call it, Pilot 2.0. Electric Boogaloo. But we're going to talk about our most anticipated films for 2024. And in this one, I'm going to volunteer myself to go first. There are a couple, actually. I'm going to mention three. There are a couple that I might, you know, mention while we have the conversation, but I'm just going to go quick and direct, no explanation, which is, the way we're going to do it here. And I think Dune Part 2 is going to be on everybody's list here. So I think it's that one. Anytime Denis Villeneuve is going to release a movie, it's going to be my most anticipated. I'm going to choose Nosferatu, the Robert Eggers film that's going to come later in the year. I'm interested in that one very much. And I'm going to choose the female-directed film. It's the Marielle Heller directed film, Night Bitch, which is with Amy Adams. So I'm anticipating that one very much. I like Marielle Heller's work. What say you, Jose? What is your top three anticipated for 2024?
My top three anticipated for this year. I need to mention Mickey 17, the next Bong Joon-ho's film, the
Right.
Parasite director. Looking forward to that film with Robert Pattinson. I think he's the protagonist. I'm also looking forward to Furiosa and Mad Max Saga from
Right.
the next from the Mad Max Saga.
I bet that's
with
in Irving's list.
yeah, maybe I'm pretty sure. um,
You're not
and
wrong.
my yeah, and my number three, I need to mention Gladiator 2.
Okay.
That film,
Ridley Scott.
I have really high hopes for that sequel
Okay.
of Gladiator.
All right. I'm sure Irving does as well. You kind of share some of that with Irving. Well, now that we're talking about him, Irving, what are your three most anticipated films this year?
well, you know what? I just only have to mention one because Jose Omar mentioned two of those.
I'm
But
sorry
yeah,
if I robbed
no.
you.
Hey, great minds think alike, right? That's what they say. So
Of course.
I no, actually I only have one, and it's Gladiator 2. I'm anticipating that movie. I'm a huge fan of the first one, so I have high hopes, although we don't know which Ridley Scott we're gonna get. So hopefully it's gonna be amazing. So I have also on my list a movie called Wolves, and this movie starring Brad Pitt and George Clooney. There are two hitmen. It's a movie that has been produced by Apple and is going to be distributed apparently by Paramount Pictures. It's going to come probably around September. That's the last thing I
Right.
heard of it. and they're playing two hitmen that they have assigned the same target. And I don't know if this is a comedy. It's from John Watts, the director of the Spider-Man MCU Spider-Man trilogy.
Right.
So we'll see. But having Brad Pitt and George Clooney in a movie, I mean, I know that we've seen them in a lot of movies, and it's always a treat to see them both.
Right.
And last but not least, I am looking forward because this year the strike stole us challengers from Luca Guadagnino.
Okay.
Starting Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Fice. I cannot wait to see. I saw the trailer again at the movies, and I cannot wait. It's coming up in April, so I'm ready for it.
A lot of good movies coming up. Joel, what do you have to offer in this discussion?
Well, you have already mentioned some of the ones that I want to watch, but I knew that was going to happen, so I made a big list, and from that big list, I'm going to choose at least 3. So one of the ones that I want to watch is from a little less known director that she had a film called The Fallout, released in 2022. Her film this year is My Old Ass. Yeah, that's the name of the film. Directed by Megan Park. Yes. And I think it stars Aubrey Plaza and Mackenzie. Maddie Sealer. Mackenzie's the sister. So, anyways.
Maddie Ziegler was in The Fallout too, right? She was in that Fallout movie.
Yeah, and she did a great job there. So I think she's going to do a great job here too. But I'm interested because the director made a good movie in The Fallout, and I want to see what her sophomore film is going to do now.
All right.
Also, I want to check out Evil Does Not Exist by Drive My Cars director Ryusuke Hamaguchi.
Okay. Follow up.
I think it was released later in 2023 in some festivals, so some people have seen it, but I still want to check it out because I haven't seen it, and I like that director. So hopefully it will be as good or better than Drive My Car. And lastly, but not least, Steve McQueen is one of my favorite directors. So when I learned that he's going to make a film with one of my favorite actresses, Saoirse Ronan, I said, sign me up. Blitz is coming this year. I think it's a World War II related film. So I'm not gonna say anything. It has Steve McQueen and Saoirse Ronan. That's it. That's it for me. You don't have to sell me a trailer or a poster. You just tell me the people involved, and I will be first week watching that film. So there's that.
There's a lot of good stuff coming out, apart from, the ones we mentioned, and there are many that were pushed back. I think of The Bike Riders, for example. It's a movie that I was kind of looking forward to seeing, and there are many more. Drive Away Dolls,
February, I think it's coming out. Yeah.
So there's that, and Irvin mentioned, the Challengers movie. That's going to be very good to finally watch. That's the beauty of a new year, right? This
and there's one more, Chris, that I wanted to mention.
Go ahead.
There is not a remake, it's not a sequel, but there's a movie called Twisters that is going to be directed by the director of Minari. You can correct me, Chris. You're the good ones at this. Yes. So he's directing, I think, is Glenn Powell. I'm trying to forget. It has a great cast. If you can look at it, it's going to be really fun. I think that, it's fun to have those movies like coming this year. I'm absolutely excited for 2024.
Yeah, also for those animation fans, Inside Out 2. Don't forget about that one.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's the beauty of movies, right? Of the new year in movies, a whole new year in movies right in front of us. And I was going to say that the movies that we mentioned, we should come back at the end of the year. We're still standing and see how they were and see if they fit the bill of being anticipated or not. We are done. Thank you all for joining us in this pilot 2.0 and continue to listen to our show. So, for my guys, my chums, Jose, Twitterless Joel, Irving, I'm Chris. Stay tuned for our next episode of For Film's Sake. Thanks for listening. Find our episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Also, follow our Instagram for Film's Sake Pod.